I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics, awareness of the stupidity of socialism, and diarrhea.
For tethering yourself to reality, the only no-brainer is choosing a brain. Ask your doctor if a brain is right for you.
For more information, visit tryabrain.com.
Oh, folks, welcome. WND Live. We are here and we are raring to go. We have everybody take their brain today. Everybody take a brain today.
I've been on a brain for, months now. And
Good,
it's really,
good.
really helped.
It really helps, yes. Folks, coming up, we are going to be discussing how the media is erasing our history. They're erasing our history of any knowledge of Kamala Harris. They're running a PR fluff campaign, trying to clean up. It's almost as if they're like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. You know, they come in and clean up the mess. Plus, we'll also be talking about the founder of Gab has apparently found Thomas Matthew Crooks's posts saying that he was a Biden supporter. So we're going to get into all that today. But let's bring in our panel here, of course, who've all taken their brain today. Folks, I mean that first of all, that parody was absolutely hilarious, and it's sad. It's like a Homer Simpson thing. It's sad because it's true, or funny because it's so true, or whatever the phrase is. Okay. It really is where we're at right now. I mean, the media they just think we are so stupid. They hate us, and they're running this cover for Kamala Harris. What is going on? I feel like I say that every morning with you guys.
Wait a minute,
what
do you mean,
on?
What is going on? Because this is just this is not even a new step. It's really just a ho hum. Of course they're doing this. It's like the Soviet Union. It's like 1984, Brave New World, Animal Farm. I don't know what it's. You know what? I was thinking about the movie Wag the Dog, and I know that there wasn't a war started in this, but there's a lot of similarities to this. It's just a production. It's theatrics. It's performative, and sickening. Yeah,
they are. So let's go through these one by one, because there's some claims that they're making. For instance, that she was never called the most liberal senator in the Senate, that she never gave money to bail out the Floyd rioters during 2020, that she never promoted that. And then, of course, that she was never called the border czar or had anything to do with helping lead the efforts to secure our border. And then, of course, there's all of the personality quirks of her laughter, her repetitive lines and all that. I mean, they're out there trying to clean all this up. And Brian, let me go to you. Where do you see as the most egregious, or are they all just the same? Is this all just the MO?
It's all part of the same narrative construction where, if you go to some place like Soviet Russia or North Korea today, and you see an elaborate presentation showing, say Kim Jong-un is the greatest person in the world. He sinks a hole in one every time he plays golf, and invents, cures cancer, or whatever else they're going to say about him. And you think, oh, that's ridiculous. How do people believe that? But then you come back here and you see this propaganda machine, this narrative machine by the media to say that, not only did Kamala Harris not be assigned to the border to try and fix that. Not only was she not one of the most liberal senators during her short tenure in the Senate, no, she's actually this great stateswoman. She's brilliant. Everything she says is, just so inspiring. And not only that, she's apparently really popular with Gen Z. She's this meme queen. We look at that and say, that's just as ridiculous as something you'd see in North Korea. But there are apparently people out there, I don't know how many, that sort of thing works on, which is kind of a sad indictment of where we are as a country.
Yeah, it's very true. So over at WND.com, we have the story up there, and it lays it all out of where we are right now in this bizarre timeline. So you can make sure you go over there and read that and share it around, because this is what we really need to do. I mean, if you're out there watching the show, you need to share these things with your community, with your friends and your family, to say, hey, hold on here. Don't get too excited about what the news is saying. We have, for instance, when it comes to the funds, the bailout funds, this was the headline. We have the image here of her back in 2020 promoting the idea that we should be giving out funds. This is on the X account. This is posted there. The mainstream media thinks they can erase history and fool the public, but the internet doesn't forget. She did help raise funds to bail out violent protesters, despite CBS telling you otherwise. The receipts are there. Josh, what can we do to make sure people see this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I beat this drum constantly, but like without X, we don't know this, and everything is quickly shoved under the rug or erased. History has changed rapidly, and what's really, I guess we shouldn't be surprised by this by now, but the media just willfully does it. We saw that Axios had said, oh, Kamala was never the border czar, never in charge of the border. And then there's like literally an image of the Axios article. So Axios saying Kamala was never in charge of the border. And then next to it, the article from a couple years ago that says the exact quote. They're quoting saying Kamala is the border czar. So this is, I think Brian said, like, I think you said a narrative construction. That's a good example of what it is. But the amazing thing is that the reason they can do it is they know that it works on enough folks in the population that everybody's so busy. They hear the narrative, they repeat it, and before you know it, people have forgotten.
Yeah. Elizabeth, you've been in this game a while here when it comes to combating, the false narratives in the legacy media. What do you see when it comes to showing your, quote, normal friends that the media lies to you? I mean, nobody likes to be told that they're being lied to, but where do you find success in trying to convince people that no, they actually are?
Firstly, I don't have any normal friends. I've got a cousin or two that are normal. No, actually, that voted for Biden. Anyway, I think that you have to arm yourself. You have to be reasonable. And this is where I won't go off on a tangent here, but where I think Trump and Vance need to be very, very careful. Calling her the DEI thing we do not want Black Americans and Latino Americans to think, or Hispanic or Latinx or whatever it is, to think that we are degrading, that offensive for her because it starts to grind. I think we need to be careful with our friends, family, and just voters we meet out on the street. I wear Trump. I said I was going to wear the same Trump shirt from now until the election, but my husband said I had to wash it, so I bought about 10 more. And anyway, wear your Trump. My husband wears his Trump hat. I got him shirts now. We, wear it, talk to strangers, but be careful that we can say things that are not intentionally offensive. We want to persuade. And the persuasion, I think, is going to be in these mashups, in these clips, in these headlines, that we have to repeatedly state them. And the winningest of all of the issues, I think, is the border czarina issue, because that goes so deep. Her disregard for all of the women and little girls that are being raped, gang raped. One girl, I'll say it, because you know what? Somebody said the reason we are here is because we were too many Republicans are so prissy that they don't want to hear the ugliest stuff, see the ugliest things. They do not want to see, for instance, all the story hour, drag queen story hour things, because I find that revolting myself. But if we close our eyes and stay in our little cocoons or black boxes or whatever, so we have to be out there saying it. One girl they tested had 42 or 62 samples of DNA within her body cavity, right? She had been raped that many times. Children are being slaughtered. And so Kamala doesn't care about women, doesn't care about rape victims, gang rape victims. She doesn't care about children. She doesn't care about children being sold into sex slavery. And she doesn't care about ICE. She calls them KKK. These are the things that normal people care about. She's not normal. She's a freak.
Yeah.
But,
well, and yeah, I mean, you pointing all that out just also lends a lot of credence to the fact that she was named the most leftist, liberal, whatever you want to call it, senator. And Brian, I know in your work you do a lot of analyzing of people's records and where they lie on the ideological spectrum and stuff. What do you make of this? Of them trying to again gaslight us all that she was not the most leftist liberal senator in DC.
Well, they're trying to cut off all the areas of attack to try and make it out that Trump and Republicans are just lying and making things up. And I think they know that, our country is not majority conservative, but it's not majority liberal either. There's a lot of people who, they can be persuaded either way, especially people in swing states, Pennsylvania and Michigan and, Georgia, the people who can swing the election back and forth. And that's who I think they're trying to appeal to. And yeah, the fact that she was super liberal, that's going to make people question, should I actually vote for her? The fact that, she was put in charge of fixing the border, but essentially ignored it and allowed it to, become a huge national crisis that, opinion polls show that immigration is, it competes with inflation for the top issue that is motivating voters today. And when you know that, the Democrats' nominee was supposed to fix one of those things and completely failed, or, maybe even exacerbated the problem, then that's obviously going to drive you the other direction. It is that they're trying to weave this narrative. And I think we need to remind people of what the truth is, that, she was given a job. She couldn't do it. She is liberal. She is one of probably, and I know we say this every couple of years because they keep going further left, but she's probably the most far left candidate ever to lead a Democrat ticket.
Brian, let me ask you a question. Okay, I'm talking to three men here. When someone tells you going to have the national outlaw certain behaviors like eating meat, what is the proper response of three men?
You laugh in their face.
Hell no.
Okay, this is communism. This is totalitarian, authoritarian. It is the craziest thing that you could ever. I mean, we all remember where we were whenever we heard these first things out of Kamala's mouth. And I'll tell you one more thing that she said when she went down to Central America and said, for all those who think, she does this, that they should come to America's borders. Don't
come.
do it.
Right,
Whatever she
right.
said.
These are
Okay, firstly, obviously, all of those people south of the border didn't take her seriously. I don't either. They took Donald J. Trump seriously. And so, but she didn't say, we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. She didn't lay it down and then back it up and go to Mayorkas. Why did she never meet with the Mayorkas? Why didn't they have a confab and a big conference and come up with a policy?
Yeah, because she doesn't believe it. This is not stuff that she believes in. And Josh, we got to ask you this, because you know that these things are so easily debunked, right? So
yeah.
why is the media even doing this? I mean, this is pretty dark, don't you think?
Well, I have a dark opinion as usual, Matt, but it's because
that's why I went to you. That's why I wanted to ask you this.
Because people won't notice. Enough people won't notice. There'll be people like us that are political and we're on the right, but there'll be a big swath of folks that just don't notice and then just kind of are fed the brainwashing. That's what I think.
You know what, guys? I have noticed that if I do not stay on top of the news for one day, the next day I come back, only because I come back the next day. But if a week goes by, I literally have no idea what's happening anymore in the United States because things move so fast. That woman that was shot by the white cop, the black woman, it was very, very bizarre cam video. He's been arrested, charged with murder, 3 counts of murder and blah, blah, blah. They are trying to make this George Floyd, right? I didn't even know this happened because I just happened to miss it. There's too much. We are being fed, and this is probably kind of part of the strategy. Just Niagara Falls, fire hose everybody, change everything up so much that you literally can't keep up with it. You go to sleep and somebody's been assassinated and 4 wars have started and race riots.
Yeah, and you know what? We might be contributing to this because if you think about it, the folks that are the most vocal, like the 4 of us that are standing here and everybody watching and people who engage in these conversations online, they do it on X, on Facebook, across the scope. We are the ones that when we go out into public, when we're in the grocery stores, we have already had this cathartic release online, right? And so when we do encounter people that are not engaged online or not paying attention and unplugging, like you said, Elizabeth, maybe there's this area that we have to make sure that when we are standing in line, when we are, taking that moment to go be out in the real world, that we can't shut off these discussions, and we have to make sure that we're talking to people because, my wife will walk around wearing her hats. And it's so surprising how many people say, "Oh, I love you. I love that hat." And then you have this moment of conversation with them, and you got to fly your flag. You got to fly your flag and make sure that you're discussing these things. And it's not just politics; it's religion and all the other things that go along with it that polite society says you shouldn't talk about anymore.
I was trying to remember
we have a real responsibility.
A story. I wanted to share this with you. And I'm so glad you brought that up, fly your flag, because I was on a business meeting the other day, yesterday, and I couldn't believe what happened. I came and I had my black Trump Vance shirt. I mean, all the regalia on. And suddenly I realized I'm going to be on a Zoom business call with a complete stranger, and he's in charge of my account. I won't tell you what it's all about. So I go on and I'm like, okay, let's just do this thing, right? Explain things, and I finally said, well, you're either going to hate my company or love my company. If you hate me, that's okay, because we won't hate you back. And you know what? This guy who's working for a nonprofit, he was on board with me. And I was like, what is happening here? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, the odds would have been against that ever happening. And so we have to be unafraid. I wasn't afraid, I just thought it might be unprofessional, but don't be afraid. You are going to have friends. You're going to make friends and win your enemies over. Yeah.
Josh, we've got some clips lined up here. Let's throw to one. What do you think? What do we got?
Yeah, we have a bunch of these clips. So we've been talking about how she's been lying. The media has been lying about Kamala Harris, but we actually have the receipts. So we'll go through those real quick and play some of those. The first one is an interview for CBS about her being the most liberal senator.
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all.
that frozen look, like a
yeah. And even back then, she was like, "Oh, what do I do with this information?" And so you can clearly see this is the reason why they're trying to scrub that. What I also think is really brilliant is the next clip with the Border Czar stuff, and which Elizabeth pointed out is probably the most egregious thing that we need to hammer on, because at the time, the press was saying she was the border czar in charge of the border, and now they're saying like that never happened. And this is the video you need to show everybody about how the media lies to you. Let's watch this one.
Now, Wajahat, we've done a bit of research while we've been on air, because you were very clear that people on the left had not said Kamala was the border czar and are now trying to wriggle off the hook. So we've got a little mashup which Newsbusters had prepared for the delectation of the world. Let's take a look.
Border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border.
This goes on for 2 minutes.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes on and on. It's you know, find that clip, share it around. I mean, it is clear as day. Brian, when you see something like that, when you see such a stark contrast like that, I mean, do people's eyes glaze over if you show them that? How do they defend that?
I think people's eyes do glaze over a little bit, which is, I think, the point. They're just throwing so much stuff out there so that you know, just to overwhelm people and make them tune out and just remember, you know, Kamala good, Trump bad. But you can see the pedantry at work, because there's no actual position in our U.S. government called czar, which is probably a good thing. It's just an informal term they use for somebody who's been given basically a portfolio to manage a certain area, a certain crisis, which that's what she was given. She was told, you know, you handle the border, whether it's the root causes of migration or whether it's security at the border. It's kind of the same thing. You're trying to stop people, or you know, or at least pretending to try and stop people from crossing into our country illegally. And she was given that responsibility. So whether they call it a czar or whatever they call it, they're just being pedantic in an effort to try and gaslight the American people into believing that what they knew 2 weeks ago is not true. And therefore, you know, you must vote Democrat.
Yeah. The memory hole.
Yeah, exactly. Tucker Carlson's hitting it out of the park. I just saw that he just passed Joe Rogan as the #1 podcast on Spotify, which is incredible. But Tucker took on this Kamala madness here, and I want to get your take on this, Elizabeth, after we watch this.
Think that she can win?
Absolutely, she can win. This is going to be a great test of the power of the media to take someone who formerly was universally disliked and transform them into a godlike figure. And they will use everything that they have to try to do that. The question is, are the American people smart enough to see through it? And I actually think the American people are smarter than anybody gives them credit for. And I don't think that they are going to be willing to sacrifice what we have in this country, which is what everybody else wants, even though they try to denigrate our country, say we're systemically racist, we're unfair to people. If we were all that bad, why are all these people trying to get in here? And why aren't people trying to get out of here? So we know that we have something that's very good. And I think the American people realize that, and they're not willing to give that up and trade that for something inferior.
Were you surprised? It's interesting that you said the media are the key for Kamala Harris. Were you surprised how quickly the media pivoted from basically forcing Joe Biden out of his job to adoring and worshiping Kamala Harris?
No, that didn't surprise me at all. Because I've been watching the media for a number of years. and I see how they're like a flock of birds. Have you ever noticed a large flock of birds, and they all turn at the same time, and they all go, and you say, how in the world are they doing that? They almost have this cohesive communication, and they work together.
Incredible, Elizabeth. I mean, he's giving a lot of credit to the American people, and I think he should. If we can get this info into their hands. Oh, we lost your audio.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was trying not to laugh or guffaw or anything like that. Anyway, sorry. So I'm with him. He is sounding an alarm. And he's making a very scary point, and at the same time, he is giving us hope, but saying cautiously, that hope is cautious. So, firstly, on his analogy of the birds, when he was talking about that, what I was thinking about is those massive, flocks of birds. But then what will happen is there'll be a split off, right? But then you'll see them come right back. Those ones that split off accidentally, I don't know if their wires got crossed, they go back. They do not continue to be split off. And that is the media. So you don't even have to have an active conspiracy in the sense that they all meet together every morning at 6 a.m. and decide the talking points, which I do actually think probably happens, but they can't help but flock together and stay together. Number two, I would say that this is the great test, because there has never been somebody so universally disliked, just like he said, and demeaned, just not even interested. But Black Americans, and I don't know about the Latino population, but Black Americans as a whole, they are not excited about Kamala. She was the first person that had to drop out of the race before. It's never gotten, one vote for president, because if Black America really supported her, she would have continued, and they do not like her. And so, but as far as the American people are concerned, I do believe that, how we talk about the woke left, I like to think of the awakened right. We've got the guy Portnoy, is it Portnoy from Barstool?
Barstool, yeah, Dave Portnoy, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going off like a madman. We can't show his multi F-bomb clip here. And we have Elon Musk. And even when you look, and there's so many more. And even when you look at the response by the founder of Facebook, when he is stunned by Donald Trump. So I do think that we have Americans are capable, they're moving direction. Let's put it that way.
And maybe they'll see through a lot of the facade here. I mean, do we have the clip of the Obamas finally jumping in with the Harris camp? Everybody was wondering, well, how come the Obamas haven't endorsed Kamala yet? And apparently she had a phone call. Do we have that clip?
Apparently.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you.
They're all reading a script right now.
Historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election.
Why is it on speakerphone?
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack.
Because this is made for TV.
I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I
So
both,
genuine.
and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given for all these years mean more than I can
The
express.
words
So thank
you have
both.
spoken.
It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Josh,
so genuine.
How cringy was that? I mean, you're a filmmaker.
I love that. Yeah, their audio. It's kind of like here, so it might be speakerphone, but it's clearly mixed in. Like it's first of all, it's a terrible production, but also it's like in every way, it's not great and it's bad, but it's also like I guess the young kids would call that cringe. I think that's what
I call it cringe, and I'm older than all of you. Okay. So that is the most cringe. And you know what? Anybody who thinks that works and doesn't know that it's cringe and that we're all doing this when we watch it, even, Black Democrats or whatever, cannot be smart enough and savvy enough to be president. So she's like disqualifying herself with that.
Clearly she is. I mean, I think we can all agree that she's
Brian's got something to say.
Oh yeah, Brian, go ahead, man.
Well, I was just thinking that it's interesting to put the contrast of Obama with Kamala Harris because he was, in a sense, astroturfed as well after his 2004 speech at the DNC. For John Kerry, who was not charismatic at all, people got very excited about him. But that's the thing; he came from nowhere and was immediately, people liked him. Even a lot of Republicans liked listening to him talk. I never quite got the appeal, but there was some appeal there. And so they didn't have to work super hard to turn someone unlikable into someone likable. They just amplified and exaggerated and, built that narrative on the, existing appeal. Whereas with Harris, they have to create it out of nothing because, anybody older than 5 remembers the 2020 campaign where she was not likable. She was not charismatic. She got destroyed on that debate stage by Tulsi Gabbard, who is everything that Harris is not. And I was thinking about that analogy with the birds. It reminds me of Moldbug's idea of the cathedral, that there's no single person at the top telling people what to believe. It's rather the system has selected people who are all on the same page. And so like the birds, they all move in the same direction. And they all, it's like a switch was flipped and they all knew it's time to dump Joe Biden. A switch was flipped. They all knew it's time to support Kamala Harris. And I think a lot of people might be seeing through that.
Well, I don't know how they're ever going to whitewash her laughter. I think the Trump campaign should employ somebody that follows her around telling jokes all the time so that she laughs.
Do you think that she can have the self-restraint to not do that?
I don't know.
Because I've been I'm gambling in my head.
Do you mean she's not drunk? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we want to show this other clip here where she was literally telling the people across the border to not come to America.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure.
Incredible.
Maybe one of the most memed videos too, with the Trump response. Amazing.
Remember when Biden threatened Hamas? No, was it Iran or Hezbollah? I don't know who he threatened. Right after October 7th, when he made his public statement, and he lost his. I think he lost his train of thought. And he just said, if you think that you're going to attack Israel and then he just said, don't.
I just have to put up this one comment. Please read it quickly and then I'll put it down. So there you go, guys. Okay. I removed it.
Oh my God. Hey, it's still 11:30 in the morning up where I am.
The comments can't not touch this one. It's
unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay.
Well, all of her affairs are going to have to become part of the conversation, I would think.
Well, if they're going to bring up Donald Trump's, right?
Right. And they don't even have to, because they've already dragged him through the mud for 7.5 years on fake affairs and I don't know what else, but
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave that there. Follow the story on WND. Of course, we're always going to be updating where the media is going to be whitewashing and gaslighting and all the
Let me say this too. If you have tips, if you see something on social missed or anything, please go ahead and send it into W&D. We read our mail and DM WorldNet Daily on X. Send links, whatever. Just send us tips. We will follow.
Yeah, that's
up on
great.
it.
Yeah, that's great. We got to crowdsource this stuff. This is what the internet is for. It's everybody crowdsourcing this information and sharing it along.
I think
Very
we
good.
should do, guys. I'm doing a little pro here. I think we should do a full blown show just on Black Americans and the immigration and what that has done to Black America, because there are some really upset leaders out there and they're being silenced, but I'm listening to them. I think it's this is going to follow her. We need to make it follow her.
Yeah, very important. Well, another story that we're following on WND.com is the founder of Gab apparently has discovered that Thomas Matthew Crooks had an account on the social media website Gab and released 9 posts that basically described himself as a Biden supporter. So the New York Post is also running with this. We have it on our X account and over at WND.com. Brian, I don't know how confirmed all of this is. He says Andrew Torba, the founder of Gab, said that he was going to cooperate with authorities if they requested any more information. Brian, what's your take on this?
I've been following this for a little while over the last couple of days, ever since Andrew Torba posted it. And my sense, and this is just my theory, is that the FBI or some law enforcement agency likely reached out to Gab saying, hey, we've found information that this could be his account. Maybe they got it off his phone or his computer, or, whatever they're doing in their investigation. And I think what Torba was worried about was that since the evidence was that it confirmed that Crooks was a Biden supporter. Remember, the media is trying to spin the story. Oh, he's a registered Republican. It's because they're trying to tie this to Trump and Republicans instead of showing that it was a Biden supporter who tried to kill the president, just like they tried to bury the story when a Bernie supporter shot the Republicans at the baseball game a few years ago. So I think Torba was afraid that they were going to just ignore it since it didn't match their narrative. And so he preemptively released it, coming as close as possible to whatever non-disclosure he's, probably under. He's not coming out and saying that the FBI were the ones to inform him that this was Crooks's account. But he's saying, look, we found this. It might be him. Take that for what you will.
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was going to say that, we're not stupid. The moment this occurred, July 13th, we were all wondering, what are they going to do about the social media accounts? How are they going to bury it? It'll be flagrant. It has to any free speech platform. And we were all praying, please have posted to X or Gab or anything like that, Rumble, because then there's a chance that it won't get buried. So we're all really happy and relieved about that. I will say that the New York Post called Gab a controversial alt-right favored social media platform, Gab. And of course, right. Anyway, that we know that they're going, if he was posting these things on Gab, how likely is it that he was posting it on other platforms?
Sure.
I'll also mention that I thought it was absolutely hysterical that he was commenting to Cat Turd. And Cat Turd says about themselves on X, I'm not on Gab, that they're the poop that you can't flush. And they're very aggressive. And to Prison Planet. And to, oh gosh, Katie, whatever, she's a UK person. But I've been researching the people that he posted to. And I'm going to go down that to see, because I haven't seen Prison Planet or cat turd. I know that's gross, but that's the name. And all these others. I haven't seen any of them post, because the first thing I would do is go back to 2021. Oh, and the other thing that is an inconvenient truth is that he's posting at the height of the hysterical, unhinged response to January 6th. So he was being, I'm going to say, if he wasn't already radicalized, they were injecting adrenaline into his body in January 2021, February, because these posts that he put up, Torba, are from February, early, February 3rd, 4th. And so, this is what this is like Hamas radicalizing kindergartners. It's the media and Democrats radicalizing, people like crooks, which sometimes accidentally call crimes. So know that.
Right.
Just to bounce off that a little bit, the fact that he was posting on Gab, Gab really is, it is all the other non-Twitter, non-X social media sites they're kind of echo chambers. Truth is Trump's area. Gab really is kind of the far right, the folks for whom Trump is not conservative enough. And so for him to be posting there suggests that, this is somebody who he's not just an average run of the mill Biden supporter who might be saying, I love Biden on Twitter. He's going into what he would perceive as enemy territory and trying to take it to them.
That's very true.
So that shows that he's a pretty diehard, leftist warrior there.
And as a 20 years old, he's probably on a ton of other sites that I probably have never even heard of yet. So
and they were you're never going to hear about them.
Right. Yeah. Well, the investigation continues, and of course the sleuths out there on the internet and will be doing their due diligence. Folks, we're going to wrap it up here, but please follow all the news that's happening over at WND.com. There's footage now that being posted of Benjamin Netanyahu going to Mar-a-Lago, meeting with Donald Trump posting photographs saying that we've never been closer to World War III, but if he gets elected, we definitely won't go into World War III, is what paraphrasing the President Trump there. So please follow all that news over on X. It's at WorldNet Daily. On Rumble, WND Newsroom is the place where you need to follow us. Josh, anything else? Where else are we at? Where else can we make sure people are following?
We're on Facebook as well as WorldNet Daily, and obviously we want everybody to go over there. Subscribe. That's a big thing. I probably say every time. I know if you've watched the show ever, I'm going to say it. Try to subscribe, because a lot of people are watching, but they are not subscribed. We need to do that. We need you to support us, and obviously we're going to say our mind here. We're not going to hide the truth at all.
Josh, you should also say though that everyone should be subscribed to WND's YouTube account. We took down that account for years, so it's been inactive, and we want to see growth there. And we only have 10,600 subscribers, so let's get it to 20,000, 30, 50, 100, even if they demonetize us.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely.
And make sure to always hit the notification bell thing.
That's
so that people know when we are on live. We'll be back here at WND on Monday. On behalf of Brian, Elizabeth, and Josh, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. God bless.
Poor hubby. Poor hubby.